The first thing I thought when I saw him on that runway wasn't how he looked, but why the hell he was glowing like that. And then the lights caught on his silk shirt tight across a barely hidden curve and my world split open like cheap stitching. The crowd gasped. The cameras flashed like lightning in a summer storm. And I, Elijah Cross, the man who swore he'd destroy Adrian Vale, suddenly forgot how to breathe. 3 months ago, we were enemies. Cutthroat rivals clawing for the same spotlight in Manhattan's merciless fashion scene. I'd stolen his model lineup for a show in Milan. He'd leaked my design sketches to Vogue's gossip column. It was war, and we loved every bitter second of it. Because hate, when you're that close, always hides something warmer beneath. The night it all changed was after the Met Gala champagne. Thunder outside, 2 idiots trapped in a studio with too much tension and too little restraint. What began as a fight over fabric ended with our bodies tangled between piles of silk, breathless, trembling, and stupidly human. I told myself it was a mistake. He told me I'd regret it. We both lied. After that night, Adrian disappeared. No texts, no calls. His studio went dark. Rumors said he fled to Paris. I didn't care, or at least I told myself I didn't. But when New York Fashion Week returned, his name was back on the roster. And not just as a designer, as a model. The show began like any other. A parade of faces, fabrics, and egos. Until the spotlight caught him. Adrian Vale, radiant in white, walking down the runway like a ghost reborn. And beneath that smooth silk shirt, the unmistakable swell of life. My heartbeat drowned out the music. My mouth went dry. And suddenly, every cruel word I'd ever said to him echoed like gunshots in my head. I didn't know it was possible to feel guilt, desire, and awe all at once. But there he was, my rival, my mistake, my maybe carrying something that was half of me. And smiling like he'd won. After the show, I pushed through the photographers, the assistants, the glittering chaos backstage. He was there, wiping makeup from his face, surrounded by a few stunned stylists who didn't dare to speak. When our eyes met, he froze. "Elijah," he said softly. No anger, no fear, just exhaustion. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered. He laughed, a brittle sound. "What would you have done? Send me a press release?" The silence between us hurt more than any insult he'd ever thrown. He turned to leave, but I reached out, catching his wrist. "Adrian, don't," he said. His voice cracked. "You wanted to ruin me. Congratulations. You almost did." But then he glanced down at his stomach, eyes glimmering with something fragile and fierce. Then life got stubborn. I wanted to hold him, apologize, take every sharp word and turn it into silk. But how do you fix something when the damage is part of the design? He left that night without another word. And I watched him go, knowing that somehow, the man I'd tried to beat had already won not the fame, not the show, but something far deeper. Days passed. The media went feral. Male model pregnant at NYFW? Scandal in the fashion world. My name got dragged into headlines before I could even think. Every photo of him radiant, proud, heartbreakingly beautiful made my chest tighten. But behind every clickbait title was a truth neither of us could outrun. Because when you love someone you're not supposed to, the world will always find a way to turn it into spectacle. And yet, somewhere beneath the noise, I still remembered the way his fingers had traced my collarbone that night, like he was memorizing the shape of regret before it ever existed. 2 weeks after the show, I found him again. Not under the flashing lights or in the pages of glossy magazines, but in a quiet cafe in Brooklyn, tucked away from the noise. He was wearing an oversized hoodie, sipping decaf, the softest version of himself I'd ever seen. The barista greeted him like a regular. Somehow, that broke me more than the runway ever did. He looked up, startled when I sat across from him. "Elijah." My name left his lips like a sigh. I didn't know what to say. The words I'd rehearsed on the drive over vanished into steam between our coffee cups. "You shouldn't be here," he said finally. "Neither should you," I murmured. "You belong in Paris, Milan, anywhere but hiding." His jaw tensed. "I'm not hiding. I'm protecting what's mine." There was no accusation in his voice, just quiet strength. The kind you earn after losing too much. I wanted to reach for his hand, but I didn't. I'd forfeited that right months ago. Adrian, I'm sorry, I said, voice barely steady. For everything. For the show, for the press, for not loving me when it would have mattered. He finished for me, eyes glistening. I swallowed hard. I did. I do. I just didn't know how to say it without destroying both of us. He laughed, a tired, trembling sound. You think love destroys? Elijah, love saves. Pride is what ruins. That hit deeper than I expected. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The world outside moved on horns blaring, strangers rushing while ours hung suspended in fragile silence. Finally, he pushed his cup aside and looked at me, eyes gentler now. What do you want from me? Nothing, I said. Just a chance to be part of this. Of him. Or her. Whatever you hate of her, you decide. For the first time, he didn't flinch. You don't even know what you're asking for. I know, I said quietly. And I know I don't deserve it. But I'm here. Something in him softened. He looked down, his hand resting subconsciously on his belly. It's weird, he whispered. Feeling this and knowing it's part of both of us. Like I'm carrying every mistake and every miracle at once. I smiled faintly. Sounds like fashion. He snorted. You're still impossible. We stayed there for hours, talking about nothing and everything, fabrics, deadlines, the absurdity of tabloids calling him the Madonna of Manhattan. Somewhere between the laughter and the lingering glances, the space between us shrank. When I finally walked him home, he didn't stop me at the door. Inside, his apartment was small but warm, walls covered in sketches and mood boards, color palettes taped over the window. It smelled faintly of paint and peppermint tea. He sat on the couch, legs tucked under a blanket, and I just watched him. The way his shoulders rose and fell. The way peace finally looked good on him. Elijah, he said softly, do you ever think we were supposed to hate each other just so we could figure out what love really means? I met his eyes. Maybe. Or maybe we were just stupid enough to think love had rules. He smiled, the kind of smile that feels like a confession. And when he reached for my hand this time, I didn't let go. Months later, when the world found out the truth about us, about the baby, the headlines were merciless. But for once, I didn't care. We did an interview together for Vogue. Adrian wore soft gray. I wore black. They asked if we regretted anything. Adrian answered first. Regret? No. Fear, yes. But love teaches you to stop hiding. He turned to me, eyes full of quiet defiance and something infinitely kind. And sometimes the person you least expect becomes your home. That quote went viral. Memes, editorial think pieces, the usual chaos. But beneath the noise, something shifted. People started seeing us not as scandal, not as spectacle, but as human. When our son was born, a tiny, furious thing with my eyes and Adrian's pout, I cried harder than I ever had. Adrian laughed, whispering, "You're ruining your designer shirt." I didn't care. In that hospital room, under sterile lights and endless beeping, I realized something simple and terrifying. This was happiness. Messy, undeserved, real. We named him Avery. The first night home, Adrian held him against his chest, humming something soft. I stood in the doorway, memorizing them like a photograph. He looked up, tired but glowing. You know, he said, if you'd told me a year ago that I'd be here with you, with this I'd have thrown a shoe at you. I grinned. You probably still will. Don't tempt me, he said, but his voice was all love. I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around them both. For a moment, the city outside disappeared. The past didn't matter. The mistakes didn't matter. Only this, the warmth, the heartbeat, the quiet promise that somehow, against all odds, we'd made it. Later, when I designed my next collection, I called it Rebirth. Adrian modeled the closing piece, a flowing white ensemble that shimmered under the lights like forgiveness made fabric. He walked the runway with Avery in his arms, and the crowd stood, applauding through tears. As the cameras flashed, he turned to me and smiled, that same unbreakable, stubborn, beautiful smile. And for the first time, I didn't see a rival. I saw everything I'd been searching for: love that refused to die, even when the world tried to tear it apart. In the end, maybe that's what fashion and love really are: the courage to take something broken and make it breathtaking again. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.